No, just regular, just South Carolina. Brian, is my level okay? I can give you more if you need me, too. What's that?
Your level's fine.
All right.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor, Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day. So join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Talking Tuesday of the big game week, the Palmetto Bowl here in South Carolina. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. We are at the Carolina Ale House in the Vista in Columbia. Well, at least one of us is right now. That would be Will Pelagic, making my way back from Clemson, which for the past 3 hours, practically every route heading east towards Columbia has been blocked in one form or another, if you can believe that. Everybody's on the road hitting the Thanksgiving trail early. A lot of wrecks on I-26, I-20. Back roads are backed up in Columbia. It's a zoo out there. But I'll be joining Will in just a little bit. Professor Tom Hayes is back at our studios in downtown Columbia. Some special guests coming up for you tonight. And that would include USC Athletics Director Ray Tanier and Senior Associate Athletics Director Charles Bloom. Plus, we're going to hear from Will Pelagic, of course. We'll also hear from Will Muschamp. We'll also hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up tonight as we take you ever closer to the Palmetto Bowl on Saturday. Our phone number is 800-956-7266. If you did not get a chance to jump on board with us last night, we'll work you in tonight and get your thoughts about the big game coming up on Saturday. A lot of folks still want to offer up their opinion. Will the Tigers roll as 26-point favorites and beat the Gamecocks for the fifth straight year? Or will the Gamecocks rise up and surprise the country and throw a big monkey wrench into the college football playoff plans of the Tigers? Most people think not. Some people think that there's a chance the Gamecocks can make it competitive. And then there's Will, who says there's no reason to play the game.
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice at all. Come on. Listen, this is all I'll say. And again, I know that I got a lot of flack yesterday from folks. And quite honestly, if you're a South Carolina fan, this should anger you. It should anger you that most of the conversation is really centered around, God, I just hope we cover. Or, God, I just, would like to see us be competitive in the fourth quarter. The fact that the program has gone from having the hubris of saying that they can go and beat Clemson on any time and anywhere, whether it's here, whether it's there, whether it's on the moon, whether it's gone from that to basically sitting here now where the gap is so wide that going up there and the prospects of playing in Death Valley are such that you're just hoping to cover in this game. I mean, that signifies something to me on a negative side. And if I was a South Carolina fan, I'd be ticked. I'd be peeved. And I think from the standpoint of where South Carolina sits, it really just talks about just how, in the fact of the matter where they are right now, and I know that they're on the way up, they're trying to build things up. And I know that everyone's considered, these two programs up against each other, and you pit one against the other. And I even asked Will Muschamp the question today, how do you resist the temptation of trying to compare yourself to Clemson? Right now, when people compare these two programs, it's still right now in two different stratospheres.
Well, the key point is perception. Because let's face it, 1 or 2 seasons and you can be right there. For instance, who would have thought that Michigan would have been in the conversation of being in the playoff after they lost to South Carolina in the bowl game?
I don't think Michigan's that good, quite honestly. But that's just me.
No, but I'm saying, look, they went through a conference that you have to say is a little bit tougher than the one Clemson had to go through. And they still have a chance to play Ohio State. Yeah, you got to say it, Will.
I don't know if they're that good.
Yeah. Well, one of the key points you got to remember is that it only takes a couple of recruiting classes, the right quarterback or whatever. And I keep coming back to the example of Boise State. Boise State, every big team they played had more talent than they had, but somebody forgot to tell them, because they played the socks off of everybody they played.
But the thing about Michigan is, and you have to give them credit, they rebounded from their loss to South Carolina in the bowl game and made something out of this year in a big way. They took advantage of whatever they carried over from the bowl game, even though it was a loss. They built on that, and they've made themselves into a contender. Believe it or not, if they beat Ohio State and they win the Big Ten championship game, they are in. South Carolina had a 9-win season last year and had a lot of momentum coming off that bowl win over the winningest program in history, and the Gamecocks have not cashed that in to follow up with a big year.
Well, here's the other part of that.
A lot of that has to do with health too.
What did Michigan? What did Michigan not have last year that they have this year, guys?
Shea Patterson.
Exactly. So from that perspective, they're a much different team than the one that played South Carolina in the bowl game last year because of that one fact.
But the Gamecocks still have their quarterback, and they still have their receivers. The injuries, no doubt, have played a part, especially on the defensive side. That's why, from South Carolina's standpoint, it's kind of sucky for them that they will not be able to field a totally healthy defense against Clemson on Saturday. See, the reason I think that this game's going to be different from the last 2 years, not suggesting that South Carolina is going to win, but I think the Gamecocks are going to be more competitive, and that is because they do have an offense. So they do have a chance to go out and do something on the offensive side that they were not able to do. You just knew the last 2 seasons that the Gamecocks really had no chance because they had no offense to go out and give them any sort of a credible opportunity to beat Clemson. I think this year's offense has showed me now with what they've done here recently that they can move the ball even against good defenses, and they can score even against good defenses. I mean, as good as Clemson is on defense, they're not impenetrable. They can give up the big play. They can miss tackles. They can give up a score.
They have been impenetrable over the last 2 months because they haven't allowed a touchdown in the first 3 quarters of a game since the Syracuse game. And because of that, I think when you look at Clemson and you look at the biggest difference between this year and last year from South Carolina's perspective, yes, their defense is better, but here's the other side of that coin. Their defense has regressed. Now, a lot of that has to do with injuries, and a lot of that is not of their own doing and factors that are outside of their control. But the fact of the matter is the play of the defense is not nearly at the level. They're not playing the kind of opportunistic football that they played a year ago. And I'm afraid from South Carolina's perspective that they'll be afraid to play man coverage against their big physical wide receivers of Clemson. They might get beat down the field. They might have to play a little bend, don't break, kind of what they did against Ole Miss. And if you try to get into a track meet with this Clemson team, I don't think you're going to win.
But see, the bend, don't break, I don't think is going to work.
I don't think it is.
Nobody expects you to win anyway. You know, there will be several times in the game, which will be uncharacteristic of South Carolina, that I'm sending the kitchen sink at their quarterback. I want the freshman quarterback to make a quick decision rather than stand back there and have a cup of coffee and make a decision where he's going through his secondary and tertiary receiver.
I think getting pressure on him is paramount for South Carolina to have any success. They've got to try to make him, the combination of the pressure of the game, the biggest moment. I mean, this is the biggest moment for him when you think about it. It's the Carolina-Clemson game. It's at home. There's no one there to turn to if something goes wrong. I mean, there's not Kelly Bryant standing on the sideline waiting to relieve you. It's on you as Trevor Lawrence. Now, he has showed to this point that he can meet everything thrown his way. South Carolina has got to come up with some exotic things, maybe even some erotic things. But
I say erotic or exotic? Which one?
On defense and do something just out of the norm. I don't know exactly what you can do. As Muschamp said the other night, because they're somewhat limited at safety, they don't want to leave those safeties back there naked. Now, that would be erotic.
That'd be erotic.
And they don't want to, put them in a situation where they're going to get beat like that. But they got to do something beyond the norm and try and shake this guy up if they're going to have any kind of chance to make any noise on Saturday night.
All I know is
if hit a break. Yeah, we're going to hit a break here, and we'll be back to hear from Dabo Swinney and also Will Muschamp, our guest, coming up as well from the Carolina Ale House and other parts. Back on Sports Talk in a moment.
Uh-huh.
What's all this about?
We're doing a radio show here, actually. A sports talk with Phil Kornblue.
What station is it on?
It's on 100.7 here locally, but we're on 30 stations statewide. So, yeah. Normally, I'd have a partner sitting here with you. He's en route right now because 26 is like backed up right now. So
It's stupid.
it's so bad.
It took me like 30 minutes to get here from Broad River.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's in he's in Irmo right now trying to navigate the back roads. I think he's on like St. Andrews right now. So.
Oh, that's not going to be any better, I guarantee.
Yeah, it's bad. But once he gets here, we're gonna get it up on the speaker so y'all can hear it.
Right,
So
cool. What is it, like mostly football? Or
mostly Carolina Clemson stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Are you a Clemson or Gamecock or not? Or
Gamecock.
No? Okay, good.
Yeah, man. Which I'm assuming mostly everybody around here is.
Most everybody around here is, but we do have some Clemson people too. So.
Can't get away from.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
That's the sound of the Tiger Rag, even though we sit here in Columbia. Gotta watch when we play that, Brian. As we sit here at the Carolina Ale House here in the Vista, we are here for our final stop of the Palmetto Pigskin Preview Tour. Of course, as has become our custom since we started doing this tour last year, we are doing the final show in Columbia, even though the game is in Clemson. We already did a Palmetto Pigskin Preview Tour stop in Clemson during Syracuse week, so we come here to Columbia to preview the big game. Again, we're going to have, as we said in our second hour, South Carolina's Director of Athletics, Ray Tanner. Also, Charles Bloom is here as well. We'll get to all those interviews as well with Will Muschamp and Dabo Sweeney. And Corn, it seemed like the tone with Dabo was very festive as he celebrated birthday number 49 today at Death Valley and at the Clemson Indoor Football Facility.
Yes, indeed. He's 49, and he was in a very good mood. And why wouldn't he be? He's got the number 2 team in the country. He's a 26-point favorite to make it 5 in a row over South Carolina. Talked a lot about when he lost 5 in a row and had to live with Steve Spurrier in state, and he joked about that and having to deal with Gamecock fans. But right now, that shoe is on the other foot as he tries to get one for the thumb. Here's what he had to say in terms of breaking down the Gamecocks beginning on the defensive side.
I think that they're a team that's capable of playing with everybody that they play with, and they've had some injuries and things like that along the way, but this is a team that you can definitely see has grown in their confidence and has improved. And again, I know they had a couple of tough, really close losses, but it's a good football team. And Will's done a great job in building this program and getting them in a situation where they can compete really with everybody that they've played. And again, I've had a couple of tough losses go against them, but they've also had some really good wins.
I understand that.
They've battled hard.
Could I get an
they're
order
playing
of
with
those
a lot of
cheese curds?
good chemistry, and you can see that on tape. Defensively, man, they're really good up front. They got a bunch of guys. You know, they've had some guys injured, so there's still a few question marks on kind of who all is going to actually line up for them on defense. But you know, looking at the totality of their season and the guys that we competed against last year, you know, these are really good football players, man. Number 8, he's as good as there is out there, especially when he's been healthy. 6 is a good player. All these guys up front have played a lot of football. They'll probably get 22 back. I think he's a really good player. 16 is an outstanding player for him at corner, very active. 6 has played a ton of football for them in the middle. So good team. Bentley he's got a great arm. He's accurate. He's playing with a lot more confidence as he should. He's an experienced football player. He has a good grasp of what they're doing. I think they're good up front. I think Zach Bailey is a great player. And, you know, I think that they have run the ball with much more consistency than maybe they did last year. I think they've been a little more committed to that. And they've set up some nice play action plays off of it, some RPOs. They do a good job with their screen game and boots, taking some shots down the field. They got some really good receivers. 89 he's a big-bodied player that is a veteran player. He's made some huge plays for them. He's a matchup problem, you know, from just a sheer size standpoint. And then you throw in 13 and 1. You know, those are 2 of the best we've seen. Really, really good players. 1 is as good a player as we've seen all year. He's a game changer. I mean, he's a guy that you better bring everything you got and wrap up because he's so good with the ball in his hands, and he's so good at breaking tackles and yards after the contact. And then I don't think he gets enough credit for finishing plays on balls in the air. You know, I mean, he's not like Brian, you know, a tall wideout, but he plays big. He does a great job finishing balls. And same thing with 13. He's not a tall guy either, but he plays long. Good ball skills. He's a matchup problem in the slot. They've played 4 backs, you know, really all year. Good matchup. This will be a heck of a matchup Saturday night. We're excited about it. Special teams is something that could be a huge factor in this game, especially with their returners.
All right, Dabo Swinney from his press conference earlier today. I don't think he's blowing smoke. You know, Dabo finds something positive to say about every opponent. Every game is a season. Every game is the biggest game of the year. I think he understands the importance of this one in many ways, not just the fact that they're trying to stay undefeated, but winning the state championship is huge. It does make your life a heck of a lot brighter when you've got that trophy in the trophy case. And Clemson's had it now for 4 straight years, and the Gamecocks want it back. And I think there'll be a certain level of emotion that South Carolina will take into the game. Now, it's up to them to maintain that level of emotion and not lose it the first time something goes against.
Well, again, the one thing, Corn, that I look at, and I see this from the standpoint of where South Carolina is that a lot of South Carolina's players have the chip on their shoulder, especially the in-state ones who didn't get recruited by Clemson or were recruited by Clemson at another position or under-recruited or what have you. From the standpoint of Deebo Samuel, for example, when I talked to him, you know, he admitted that he he did not necessarily even get a didn't exactly get an offer when it came from Clemson's perspective. So from that perspective, you look at him and you look at some of these other people like, Brian Edwards, who's recruited on defense, and Zach Bailey and guys like that, people who grew up in split households like Donnell Stanley too. I mean, it's from the standpoint of where South Carolina is and their players are. I haven't seen that chip on their shoulder come out in a positive manner. We've seen it from the standpoint of, their emotions boiling over like we saw in the game last year, but we really haven't seen the positive end of that, the positive motivation from that play out. And from the example of Clemson's perspective, not like they take a laissez-faire attitude toward the rivalry. They do try to do the whole, every game's a season, every week's a season type deal. But from the standpoint of Clemson, they're very fortified in where they are. And I don't know if Clemson or if South Carolina, it really is at that point right now.
Well, that's the key point.
All right, let's go to the phones, 800-956-7266. Let's go to Josh in Charleston, who's been hanging on for us on this Talking Tuesday. Josh, welcome into Sports Talk.
Gentlemen, good evening. Will, I heard your question to Muschamp in his presser today, and let me preface by saying, guys, I do not have a dog in the fight. I am a mere onlooker in this state that is sort of a fishbowl of these two teams. But Will, he gave you the politically correct answer. But this question is really for all of you guys because you're privy to it. But how much do you think that it really gets at the administration and staff at Columbia that they are so far behind from a football standpoint than Clemson? Because let's face it, I mean, the standard right now is Alabama. I mean, Will, you just touched on it. You've got guys on South Carolina's team that were not even, given a chance at Clemson because they're recruiting, five-star kids out of Georgia and Florida and other parts of the country. How much do you think that being this far behind realistically gets at this?
Well, we're going to have a chance to find out because we'll have Ray Tanner with us here in the next hour and Charles Bloom coming up in just a little bit. We can ask them how they feel about that. And, I mean, it's a question that I'm sure, hear from their trustee members and their big donors. Speaking in the terms of the Gamecocks, when are we going to catch up with Clemson in football? And they can say, look, there was a 5-year period there when Clemson was asking the same thing. When are we going to catch up with South Carolina? So there's an ebb and flow, a give and take, et cetera, et cetera. You got to have a man, you got to have a coach you believe in, and stick with him and let him build. I guarantee you that's what Ray Tanner's going to do.
It's cyclical, like you said, Corn. And the thing about it is that they will never openly admit that they are behind or how far they're behind or whether they think they're behind or that they're catching them or that it's part of their MO to try and get there. But from the standpoint of where they sit inside those meeting rooms and inside the walls, you better believe it's on their mind. You better believe it's a part of the motivation to get this program to be better.
Okay, we're going to hear from Muschamp when we come back here on this Talking Tuesday.
Charles, we're going to do 6:45. Is that cool with you? Awesome. Phil is on UG, so he's finally there.
That was truly.
You get a minute.
Way in the Columbia.
You get a minute.
Yeah, ranks all over the 26. We said it says yes.
I got the fourth one in my kit, but I don't think we'll need it, will we?
Please, as many as you can put in there. Thank God for technology. You know, Blinsky?
Throw me the extension cord.
Did not. I was very alert.
3 seconds.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We're at the Carolina Ale House in the Vista in Columbia. And we are actually here. Will Pelagic is here. I'm here. Charles Bloom from USC is here. Ray Tanner will be here in just a little bit. So we're looking forward to talking to them. And more of your phone calls at 800-956-7266 as we look ahead to the big game on Saturday. Clemson. USC. And just a moment, we're going to hear from USC's Will Muschamp get his first thoughts in Sports Talk tonight about the matchup with the Tigers. Well for him his first 2 years. Totally embarrassed in his first shot at the Tigers with the Gamecocks up at Death Valley. That was a game, Will, where they truly had no chance because their offense was really horrid, and you had a quarterback who should have been in high school, and the game plan was terrible, and they were just obliterated. Last year, they had a little bit more hope. In Columbia, an older quarterback who now had a full season under his belt, it did not turn out any better. This year, you were there.
Right.
I got to believe that they feel like if they can play their game, not turn it over, get some help from Clemson, they can be.
Well, here's the other part of this. This is something that I think from where Will Muschamp sits, the first meeting reflected very poorly on that team and on him. And he took it incredibly personally. And he even said that, he believed that some of his players quit on him. And he said that openly when it comes to that from that perspective. So where South Carolina sits 2 years in now, or 3 years in now, with this being the third matchup, he believes that he has rid that moniker away. But still, I've yet to see in 2 matchups this group not believe that they belong on the same field. And that's the one thing that Will Muschamp is tasked with instilling in his team this week as he prepares for the Clemson Tigers. Here's a little bit of his opening statement today on a Talking Tuesday.
Head up to Clemson Saturday night, 7 o'clock kickoff, one of the great rivalries in college football. It's a passionate game. It's very important to our state and obviously University of South Carolina. Clemson's got a good football team. You start on offense, and Trevor Lawrence can make all the throws. He's got tremendous arm talent. Obviously, they're doing what they do offensively, so they've given him the whole playbook, and he's just really done a good job taking care of the football, explosive plays down the field, getting them in the right stuff in the run game and pass game, but has done a really nice job. Really talented on the perimeter. T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, Hunter Renfrow has been there forever. Justin Ross, Darion Kendrick, some guys outside that very explosive in the throwing game, and they get them the ball different ways, but do a nice job in space. And Eddie in the running back's a guy that I've been very impressed with. Really strong lower body. He's got big time speed. Feaster's another guy that they feature back there, but Travis is a guy that really catches your eye when you watch the tape. Made a lot of big plays for them throughout this year, and really their run game has been remarkably better from a year ago, in my opinion, just watching them and watching him run this year. Defensively, the same front four we faced for 3 years. Lawrence and Wilkins and Farrell and Bryant are very talented players, and Brent does a good job of mixing things up with those guys. And Trey Lamar and Kendall Joseph are 2 really good linebackers that do a nice job, and some talented guys on the back end. They've got really good team speed. So special teams, they do a nice job, and they got some really good specialists. Injury-wise for us, JC practiced today. He should be fine for the game. AJ practiced. He should be fine. Hoping to get Aaron Sterling back. He practiced some today, not the whole practice, but I'm hoping to get him back for Saturday at least in a part-time role. And everybody else is good to go. I'll open up for any questions.
Will, AJ and Mon have really been running the ball well the past couple of weeks, but Rico and Tyson are recovering. How do you plan to get those 2 guys back in the game plan, if at all, on Saturday? Well,
whoever practices the best and gives us the best opportunity to win the game Saturday will be the ones that carry the ball, So, but yeah, Mon and AJ have been fine. Yeah, they've tried to, cut it back a little bit just to help him carry the ball better. That's been a little bit of an issue. So,
well, when you think about the now 3 Carolina Clemson games that you've coached in,
what's
going into your third, but what's the main thing that sticks out from the first 2?
Well, again, I think that we got to do a better job coaching and playing. That's the bottom line. And continuing to build our program. I give Coach Sweeney and his staff credit. They've done a really good job. The draft speaks for itself as far as the guys in April every year, and we've got to continue to build to that. It takes time sometimes, but again, we got to coach better and play better.
That is the voice of Will Muschamp, the South Carolina head coach, as we continue here from a Carolina Ale House in the Vista. Will Polonchik along with Phil Kornblue, Professor Tom Hayes, who is about 6 minutes and 20 seconds from me by car. I counted it just because I had a full phone conversation with my en route parents basically in that amount of time. So there you go.
I hope they're not trying to head east from the west to get into Columbia.
No, they're going to be coming from the east. So, yeah, they will be trying to head west.
Yeah, it is a mess out there, I tell you. Of course, it's typical for the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, and I imagine tomorrow will be even worse. People are hitting the road. But here in South Carolina, folks are heading to the beach, or folks are heading to the mountains, or heading out of state. And in the Midlands area, just all the roads. As I was coming in a little while ago, as you might imagine, Malfunction Junction was totally blocked in every direction. So, but you know what that means? That means more people able to sit back and listen to us as we talk about the big game coming up this week.
And I can make everybody jealous because of the fact that I got the same beer battered cheese curds that I got at the Carolina Ale House stop we had in Charleston, and they are just as good in Columbia as they are in Charleston.
I'm sure it's a very consistent menu throughout all their
and
different areas.
And yes, Corn, they can do your buffalo chicken salad, which has become your now patented diet choice.
We're going to hit that up a little bit later on. Charles Bloom's going to join us here after the break, and we can talk to him about the mental state of the Gamecocks going into the ball game on Saturday and how they feel about breaking that 4-game losing streak. Back to the phones. Let's go to Singing Tiger. here on this Talking Tuesday. Looks like it could be a Singing Tuesday here in just a moment. ST, what do you have for us?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Once again, you're doing a great job. So back when we got whipped 5 times in a row, as they say, 2 of the times we did give it away. The other 3 times we were right in there. And the recruiting did not drop off. That's the disparity that we've had between the Cops and us. So, we'll go on to a little song. Can we do 2 of them?
You have only time for 1, Singing Tiger.
You got a minute.
All right. Well, let's do the original. Gamecock all throughout the city. The chicken curse is here to stay. Oh, all together now. Gamecock, all throughout the city. The chicken curse is here to stay. Oh, what a city. Go, Tiger.
That's Singing Tiger on Sports Talk.
All right. Thank you, Singing Tiger.
We
Good
need
to hear from you tonight.
We need you know what we need now?
We need to counter him with
a rapping Gamecock.
No, with Hootie.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, just bring Hootie on and let him
Isn't Hootie on your speed dial there, Mr. Everything in South Carolina? Don't you have a Hootie connection?
He really isn't, but Corey Miller has got him on his speed dial. We can go through Corey.
Well,
get him that way.
I'm glad it's the reliable one of the M&M boys.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, was that too soon of a shot for Will Merritt?
Yeah, we'll pay you back tomorrow night.
What's Will's excuse going to be tomorrow?
It's Thanksgiving Eve.
Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Thanksgiving is not a day; it is a meal.
I think we will pin him down. I think he does want to have his shot at Corey tomorrow night before the big game.
Well, first of all, you have to drop the Hootie moniker. His name is Darius Rucker, so
yeah,
Darius.
That's always called Hootie.
I know he hates being called Hootie, but he'll always be Hootie to me.
Yeah, that's
as a child of the 90s.
That's how I grew up listening to him.
As a child of the 90s.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, Charles Bloom from USC will join us here live at the Carolina Ale House in the Vista on this Talking Tuesday night.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
This is more like it for Carolina Ale House in Columbia as we come to you from the Vista. It is part of our Palmetto Pigskin Preview Tour as we continue our look ahead to the Palmetto Bowl. And we have somebody who I think has one of the coolest titles in the South Carolina Athletic Department and probably the most traveled members of the South Carolina Athletic Department. Corn.
Got a lot of words in his title. Charles Bloom, Executive Associate AD, Chief of Staff.
It has a good sound to it.
It does.
But basically all it means is you've worked in the conference office. That's what that means.
It could mean that, or it just says, Coach Tanner says, just do whatever I tell you to do.
Exactly. Good to have you with us. Thank you for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
Always good seeing you. So I want to ask you the question that the caller asked us earlier. I mean, the gap between South Carolina, Clemson, and football right now. Now, not too many years ago, it looked the other way. So, I mean, as an athletic department senior executive, I mean, you just sort of sit back and say, give it time. This thing has a way of rolling back around the other way eventually.
Yeah, I'd say you have to give it time. And, I don't know enough about football to tell you how much better one player is over the next. I don't. But what I do know is numbers. And, and we've lost 5 in a row. We need to get back and win. And I think we're headed in the right direction with Coach Muschamp. Our recruiting is doing well. I give Coach Tanner the best stuff. So you gotta ask him some of the facts that I came up with for him.
Yeah.
But I do believe we're trending in the right direction. And we had a couple of tough losses this year, but I think the future's bright, and looking forward to Saturday night as well as future years to come.
What's the relationship like between USC's athletic department and Clemson's, especially this week leading into the football game? I mean, are you guys generally, as administrators and executives, friendly with one another? Because I know sometimes between the coaches it gets pretty tense.
Yeah, I think for the most part we're friendly. I mean, there's no bad. I mean, we work together on issues like we came together on the Palmetto Series. We came together on the Palmetto Bowl. We play each other in a lot of sports. So I think we work well together. A friend of mine who is now no longer in the athletic department, but Joe Galbraith is, was in the athletic department. We worked together when I was in the SEC and he was at Mississippi State or at the Citrus Bowl. You can't be in this business so long that you don't know people on the other side. And
sure.
Every school, you have somebody that you know and somebody that you work with.
You know this working in sports a lot longer than me and about as long as Corn has. But from the standpoint of where you sit, it's a copycat industry. A lot of people take things from other places and things of that nature. What do you think is, number one, from your standpoint, from being at the conference office, the biggest thing that you've brought to this athletic department? And number two, from the standpoint of Carolina and Clemson, how much borrowing have you noticed going on between the two programs?
Well, there's, no idea is an original idea anymore unless, I think it all works into the fit, whether you're here at Carolina or at Clemson, you got different fits, different programs. You're trying to make ideas fit into the running of your program. So in that situation, you may see an idea at another school that says, hey, this could work here, but Clemson may take the same idea and it works there, but it probably wouldn't work here. So, part of it is you're always researching to find out what is better and what can work, but doesn't necessarily have to work at every school. It's, it's a very competitive business. And it's a competition, not just on the field, but off the field, recruiting, ticket sales. I mean, I used to, you compete for spring game attendance. You compete for other sports. Now we have the food drive and we have the academic point in the Palmetto Series. So there's a lot of competition, and, we do the best we can. And we are always looking for ideas that can work.
The existence of the SEC network, just that coverage from the network, what it means to not only South Carolina, but the entire conference, but not from a monetary standpoint. I'm looking for the intangibles you think it brings to each school in the conference.
Well, that's a great question. I think it helps more with probably the non-football, because every football game was televised anyway. I think, a case like this past Saturday when you had a schedule that wasn't the best across the board, and you have to find places to put games. It helps in that regard because you could put 3 games on the SEC network and 3 games on the SEC network alternate. And you could do that in the first weekend of the season when all the non-conference games are going on as well. But you have a home, you have a branded home for your league. You have a home where Olympic sports are watched, and it's a system where it's been beneficial to the league. I think we in the SEC are privileged to have such a passionate fan base all around the league that helps sell the network. I mean, when the network came on board, it was the largest rollout in the history of cable television, and a large part of that was because our fans made it known they want the SEC network on their cable systems. So I think looking at that, I think the ACC is getting ready to get in that ballpark, right? And the Pac-10, the Pac-12, the Big 12 is the only one that doesn't have it. They have the Longhorn Network, and Oklahoma has a network as well. But that's it. It's the way of the world now, and we're privileged to have ESPN be a partner with us.
Tell me about the script, the Carolina script. I'm not a big fan of it.
I knew this was coming.
I know some others.
So Phil, were we in school together?
Were you there in the 40s?
Yes, yes.
Why was this the script?
Because this is the script. Joe Morrison had the script.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember it well. I just see. I am a fan of the Block C. My favorite USC uniform was the George Rogers era, with the bigger Block C on the helmet and the garnet, the black, however, the big stripes on the pants. I really like that. That's just me. I'm not a big fan of the script.
I'm team script.
But I'm just asking you, where did it come from? Where is it going? Is that a new branding attempt?
Coach Muschamp liked the script, and it was meant to be a secondary mark only to start the season off with. And it became so popular.
Is it really popular?
Oh, it's very popular. I mean, some of our other programs are using it, and it's really taken off. And I can't tell you what the future of it looks like right now, but it's taken off more than I thought it would.
I did not realize at the beginning. You mean like among your fan base?
Yes.
Your response?
You have metrics to go off of.
Well,
like sales?
I don't have metrics per se, but
you don't.
But I just see it.
I
see it.
So are we going to see expanded use of the script?
I don't know. I think we've used it more in football than I think we've intended it to, and we're seeing it. Around town and in the stands. You go to the basketball game and you see people with the script Carolina.
I am seeing it in a lot of places now.
Yeah, I've seen it around our events.
Will they wear it Saturday?
I know if you look deeply on Twitter, you'll see because we did the Battle Armor video was shot at Tiger Burn.
Okay.
And some people have tweeted pictures of how the shooting of the Battle Armor, so you could probably get a in-depth, but you got to search. You got to get
look at Charles going with the breaking news out there.
I'm telling you,
I'm not going to tell you what they're wearing.
Well, you look that up there, Will. That's kind of in your neighborhood.
You're trying to say that I'm a better stalker than you? Is that what you're saying?
I would say so. I would say so. Are you going to hang with us? Are you making?
Well, I'm waiting on my boss.
Okay.
And so if he wants me to,
there he is.
Oh, he just arrived.
And here he is
on cue.
And I'll do whatever he tells me to do.
You're welcome.
Why would this day be different than any other day?
We want to feed you here at Carolina Ale House, so whatever you want, it's on us. And same thing with Coach Tanner. Anything you want to eat or drink is
Ray's got to pay for the drinks, though.
Not part of the deal.
I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
Standing room only.
Yeah, it's packed in here. All right, hang on. We're going to be back in just a moment here on Sports Talk. I thought I heard the music.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. It is a Talking Tuesday, and we are doing a lot of talking from the Carolina Ale House here in the Vista. We thank the good folks here for hosting us. Our final stop on our Palmetto Pigskin Preview Tour. We have been all over the state, really twice in August to preview the season, and then during the season to talk to the teams, talk to the coaches, talk to the athletic directors.
Logged a lot of miles.
Driven a lot of miles, been stuck in a lot of traffic. Ray Tanner is here, USC Athletic Director. Charles Bloom is still here. Charles has got a long title, Ray. Executive Associate AD Chief of Staff.
It's really important.
That's
really important.
Yeah, you had to do a lot to keep it.
I know I did.
Give him that big title, big money, and everything. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm quite honored to be a guest on like Thanksgiving Eve, you know. So that's
it's called filler.
It's very well. That's what I asked Kingston when I saw him. I said, "Are you filler or am I filler?"
Yeah.
So
Coach Kingston came walking by. I thought, well, did you invite him?
I didn't
actually.
Invite him.
We're going to talk to him later on.
He just loves the show.
Well, who doesn't? When you break it down, who doesn't? All right, so let's get down to the case at hand here. I mean, I think you got a chance to go in Saturday and be competitive and have a good ball game and not be like it was the last 2 years. Now, tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Is that an optimistic statement?
Kind of, sort of. I don't want to come across overly upbeat about your chances because you're a 26-point underdog. I'm just saying I think you can score in the first half and have it as a ball game in the third quarter. And you say what?
Well, okay, first of all, I'm an athletics director, fan, love football. Not an authority. There are some ADs that would tell you that they know as much as their football coaches. I'm not one to tell you that.
Like the one at Tennessee, maybe?
Well, I'm not saying anyone in particular, but I'm just being honest. But I like our team. I know that we've had some ups and downs. We've had some injuries, but we got a pretty good offense. We've proven that we can score some points. If we can stay on the field, that gives us a better chance, if we throw up some points, and you never know what's going to happen.
Can you drive the ball on these guys? You're going to have to score in rapid fashion with some lightning strikes, maybe some screen passes that you break for long gains, throw some miracles out there. I mean, how do you see it?
Well, I don't know. Who knows? From a fan standpoint, I'd like to control the tempo. I'd like to control the ball, keep it in our hands, and have some drives, hit some passes, score some points, and see where it goes.
You need to have him make the address to the team with how optimistic that he is.
Well, you have to be optimistic, don't you? You can't go in with your head hung down and thinking we got no chance.
No, I don't think you'll find that. I've been around this team. I've been around Coach Muschamp now for 3 years. They think they can win games. I mean, they did from day one. He inherited a team that was 3-9, and he said, guys, that's history. Every game's a different game, and let's go into it. I go in the locker room. I listen to what's being said. Those guys believe. They know that they're not the best team in the country necessarily, but they think they have a chance to win when they play, and that's important.
So, did you like what he said on Sunday night when asked about fans being patient? And he said, I'm not patient. I don't want the fans to be patient.
Yes, that ranks as one of the top things that I've heard from him. And, I'm obviously extremely prejudiced, but I think that he does a wonderful job. And, it's when you talk about expectations and patience, you don't want your fans to be patient. You want expectations. So that's how it's built. That's how the fan base needs to be. And I used to tell my guys all the time, if they're upset with you, that's a backhanded compliment. So let's keep playing.
Well, the temperature of the fan base. We're talking with Gamecock Athletic Director Ray Tanner here on Sports Talk as we come to you from Carolina Ale House, part of our Palmetto Pigskin Preview Tour. So from where Clemson and Carolina sit, there's obviously a gap. And we've heard folks ask about, how concerned is USC's athletic department about where that gap is, where South Carolina is in relation to Clemson. How much of a conscious thing is that in your office with your football program? How do you address that? How do you address where that gap is, and how do you close it?
Well, I don't. talk about the gap. I mean, obviously, they've won the last 4. Prior to that, we won 5. So, they're trying to even this thing up. If you would have told me 10 years ago that it's potential to be 5-5 at the end of 10 games, I would have said, no, it's not going to be like that. That's not the way it shakes out here. But that's what they're shooting for, and we're trying to break it. But we had a transition. We went through a transition. So did they, and those things aren't easy, especially in the sport of football. And I'm hoping that we go up there and play our best game of the year.
Are you upset with where I think a lot of, that's not here, but like other programs nationally, they don't give their coaches enough time to cycle through a transition, places that might, fire a guy after 4 or 5 years, not before he even goes through a whole recruiting class?
I don't like it. And it's not because I'm a former coach, but I think that society has changed. I mean, it is about, instantaneous, and not just in the sport of football, but in a lot of things. And you never used to think, when back in the day, you would say if you're a football coach or maybe a basketball coach, you might not be a coach as long as the other sports, but the other sports, they coach forever. That's not the case in the Olympic sports anymore either. I mean, it's about, what have you done lately? And I don't think we're patient enough. I really don't. And if you have a coach, male or female, they're doing things the right way, they're making progress, they're putting a program together, it can't happen overnight all the time. We want it to, but I think you do have to have more patience. And, I go back to, when Coach Muschamp got here, the 2 years prior to that weren't very good. So he had not just a beginning transition, but the 2 years prior to that weren't very good. So I think he's that year, what was it, 28 new head coaches. Mm-hmm. And if you back that up for those 2 years, he's 4th best among those 28. And of those 28, I think 3 have been dismissed already. So that just goes to tell you a little bit about his winning percentage counting the 2 years prior to when he got here. Yeah. So it's a good stat for you.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's at 21 wins.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, and I think at the same stage now, I think Dabo is at the same stage of his career. He was like 23 wins. Okay. I think he's like 2 ahead. But anyway, it's
a different conference. I just point that out.
Yeah. No, I get you. Well, Dabo said
Ray coming in.
Yeah, but Dabo said today that they've got more wins against 7-win teams than anybody else in the country. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, listen, let's Clemson has been very, very good now for a number of years. They've got tremendous talent, and you give Dabo credit. He deserves it, well coached. And my counterpart, Dan Radakovich, and we talk quite often. They've got a lot of really good football players.
That was my question. How much do you keep an eye on them as an athletic department? How much do they keep an eye on you guys as an athletic department? Are y'all watching what they're building and what they're promoting, and they're watching what you're building and what you're promoting and how you do your business?
I don't think we do that so much. I think that, from my position and Dan Radakovich's position, we do the same job. We're responsible for the same type of enterprise, and we do consult and we do talk about things that we do at different levels, and the state process affects both of us the same way. So we're both in a political climate that is equal. So we have some conversations and try to collaborate on some things that can help both schools.
Pro, real quick, if you have one, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, quickly. Ray, when you look at the way football is now, and of course, let's face it, television pays a lot of the freight. What kind of feedback are you getting from fans when, it's a kickoff at noon one day and 7 o'clock the next week? That fluctuation in schedules.
Well, we hear quite a bit about that. I mean, we really do. And you are correct that television dictates a lot. There's every conference, every game, just about we've got the SEC network. The SEC network is coming, and, we've got games everywhere, and you got to be in certain time slots. And, if you're an undefeated team, you get a lot of prime time, and then you got to fit in there somewhere. You can make some requests here and there, but they can't, you don't always get a perfect time. So that it's difficult for fans. I don't think it would be so difficult if the times were announced a little earlier in the season.
You need more night games at home.
Well,
I need more night games at home. You would not disagree.
I would not disagree.
Yeah, it's good for the business. Your fans love it. It used to be a tradition.
And we have one of the greatest tailgating in the country.
And you need to call it the cockpit. We need to talk about that after the break.
Man loves to try and run your department for you.
He's been trying that for years, hasn't he?
He's been trying a lot of things.
And get rid of the script. We're going to talk about that too. Charles says it's extremely popular.
The Carolina script.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very popular.
All right, we'll be right back with Ray Tanner. Charles Bloom is still here, too. We're going to talk to you, Charles. Don't get upset.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
That is the South Carolina fight song as we come to you again from the Carolina Ale House in Columbia. We are in the Vista.
We can play the Clemson fight song with Ray here. He's got an open mind.
I don't know if he does.
It's not going to offend him. We go back and forth this week on our bumpers, alternating. But since you're here, I think our producers
I
play the
appreciate
Clemson fight song.
The college football playoff rankings have come out here for this week. No surprise, the top four stay the same: Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia, and then that down to number 6 and 7, 8, and 9, it's all basically the same. Only people really care about the top 4.
Right.
And, you know, from your
top 4 again is Alabama, Clemson,
Notre Dame, and Michigan.
Michigan stays the same. Yeah.
So from the standpoint of where they sit, you know, we have somebody right here who is very much
Charles Bloom.
The advent of this kind of whole
you kind of
new era.
Create the BCS back in the day. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry. There you go. It's no.
Oh, is it not there?
It's right there.
We don't have his thing up. Is that it? There we go.
No, what in the world?
We need a producer.
We do. Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
I heard
Charles.
something.
There we go.
I heard a pop.
Sorry about that. Too many hands in the kitchen. You helped create the idea of the BCS
with Commissioner Kramer.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Is the story true about you guys kind of drawing it up on a napkin?
Well, that was the Bowl Alliance before that. But we did. Commissioner Kramer and I spent a lot of time together researching statistical formulas that we eventually use for the BCS.
Are you happy with the way things have evolved with this current playoff system?
Yeah, I mean, what it was asked to do was to get the 2 best teams into a game. Now you're asked to put the 4 best teams into a playoff, and you know, I think it's fine. I would have concern if it grew more than that, but I do think that it's doing pretty well right now.
You want to see it expanded?
Right? No, I like it just the way it is.
Yeah,
I do.
So South Carolina, normally this would be the final game of the regular season, but there is one more. Your job basically over the last couple of weeks before was tasked to trying to find that 12th opponent. You found Akron. How did that process turn in?
Well, it was a situation that we wanted to play, and Coach Muschamp at that point, when we lost that game with Marshall, he wanted to play on December 1st, regardless of what our record would be or who the opponent would be. He wanted to play, made that clear from day one. And we stayed in contact with Marshall, but they stayed in the race for their championship game. So as the days wore on, that became much more of a risk. And we talked to a lot of different teams, and Charles Waddell, he's a sport liaison with football, and he does a lot of the scheduling. So he and I were meeting every single day. We were calling a lot of different people, talking to a lot of different schools. And the first opportunity that we had to do a contract was with Akron, and we did it. We had a team that was willing to come play, and we said, they're ready. We anticipated that they would come here on December 1st, bowl eligible or an opportunity to become bowl eligible. Now they lost last week, and they got a game this week that they're probably not the favorite in. But Terry Bowden, formerly being in the SEC, had a little bit of a storyline to it.
Sure.
Coach Muschamp was his GA back in the day. So, but the idea was that we were going to get a team to play, and we talked to a number of teams, probably as many as 6. But Akron was the first team that said we'll come play.
Think about this: should you win that game, the Gamecocks in their history would have beaten Bobby Bowden, Tommy Bowden, and Terry Bowden. You would have gotten all 3 of them.
Pretty good.
Because you did beat Bobby back in the day, back in '84.
Okay.
At least once, maybe beat him another time. I'm not sure. Of course, you beat Tommy a little bit when he was at Clemson. And now you get your shot at Terry. Speaking of bowls, what's it looking like? Is it looking – I've said, the national prognosticators are kind of leaning towards the Belt Bowl for you guys now in Charlotte. There's been at one point talk of a Gator Bowl, Liberty Bowl. I know a lot of it's out of your hands. Is it all out of your hands and totally in the hands of the SEC people, or do you have some input as to what you want to do?
Well, it doesn't prevent athletic directors from lobbying. Do we get to make the decision? No. Do they have some conversation with us? Yes. But you have to look at the situation of how many teams go up. How many SEC teams will be in the top 4? Will it just be 1? Will it be 2? Then will we have 3 in the tier?
Yeah.
In the next wave, the Alliance Bowls they used to call. They're called something.
Contract bowls.
The contract bowls. Now, then you go to the Citrus Bowl, who gets their pick.
Right.
And then we have 6 bowls under that are all equal.
Right.
They're all equal.
Does it matter to you?
Well, I mean, we'd like to go
that pool of 6. Does it matter which one you go to?
Well, it matters from a standpoint. I'd like to see our fans travel. So some locations are different than others. So
right.
We'd like to be in a position that we'd have a good following.
How much are you able? And again, you don't want to necessarily be rude to a certain bowl, but how much do you kind of say if like one bowl wants you, and you're like, well, I don't know if our fans would want to go to. I'm not going to say a city, but maybe one of them in Louisiana, versus maybe going to a Memphis or a Birmingham or Belk Bowl, something like that. How much of that can you be honest with those people?
At least Shreveport has a casino.
That's where we were based.
I know you
the
were.
last time we were there. I get a chance to talk to some bowl reps. They come to our games, and I've had a chance to visit with them. And you never know how it's going to shake out. And the way it shakes out this year might not be the way it shook out last year, or it's going to shake out the next year. So we're always maintain that good relationship.
Do you know which bowl reps will be at Clemson Saturday to look at you guys?
I do not. It's not like the old days when you used to entertain bowl reps. That's sort of gone by the wayside. But we feel like we're going to get a bowl that maybe we'll have an opportunity that our fans can get to. So we'll see. We don't know yet, but we'll see.
Prior to last weekend's games, and I haven't gone back and refigured this, but I did prior to last week, looking ahead to 2019, your 11 FBS opponents combined record going into last weekend, 72-36. You had two 10-0 teams at that time, Alabama, Clemson. Now they're 11-0, and Georgia's 10-1. And you got a really hard schedule next year. Progress. I mean, you want to see progress. Do you see this program being able to step up next year? And you got Alabama coming in, and they're going to be really good once again. Can you see the program taking a step forward against that kind of schedule next year?
Well, I would try to make it clear, as you know, with our sports, whether it's a woman's sport or a male sport, that you do your evaluations at the end of the year. But Coach Muschamp's done a heck of a job since he's been here, and didn't inherit the best situation. We've had a lot of injuries. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't make excuses. He has expectations. He's talked about patience this week. So we're doing some good things. We got to continue to build the program, but it's not easy. In some sports, you can get one or two guys and turn it around, but football is not one of those sports. You've got to have some really good players. You got to have a lot of them, and you got to stay healthy.
And hoops is starting too. Now we have Frank Martin with a bunch of people in influx, and Dawn Staley just come off and signed a very, very big recruiting class. I mean, those are the kind of sports where you can turn over very vastly.
Well, you do have a better opportunity. And in the sport I coach, you can run out a couple of pretty good arms and keep the other team from scoring, and you have a chance to win the game. But football's different. You've got to have depth. You've got to have good players. And I don't mean two guys at one position. It takes a lot of players.
You've got a quarterback in the 2019 class who has signed his financial aid papers, so you can talk about it. Ryan Helinski out of California.
Right.
Have you had a chance to meet with him? Obviously, you know his story. What do you think of him? What do you think he could do? Look, I know what you're saying about football teams. It takes 22, but we all know in today's college football that quarterback can change everything.
Well, it does seem to be, whether you're in the college environment or in the NFL, that you better have a pretty good quarterback. And we've got a pretty good quarterback right now, and it looks like we've got we've got a good one on the way. So that's important that you have that. Matter of fact, we hadn't been able to see some of our guys behind Bentley, but we got a chance last week. Some pretty good-looking guys ran out there too. So they've been working hard. They've been practicing. So it seems to be maybe some depth to that position. So, I think we're in a good place. I know that these guys under Coach Muschamp's leadership, the players on the field and his coaching staff, they work extremely hard. They have made a tremendous investment since they've been here, and you got to believe that you get the return. You position yourself for a very good return.
And just tell Phil that the Carolina script ain't going anywhere once and for all.
Well, Phil's got to have something to talk about.
Well, I'm never totally happy about anything.
Well, that's true.
But that just
you're only happy being unhappy.
That just adds to my list. You got to hang with us a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
It's totally up to you.
Yeah,
we're feeding you, we're drinking you, we're doing everything. Take care of the family. We got a lot of commercials.
Wow, you get paid.
Everybody wants to advertise on this show.
I understand.
Take a lesson. All right. Speaking of that, I do have a major complaint. I'll share it with you off the air.
Then I may go away.
Maybe Charles has already told you, or maybe not. I talked about it last night. Back in a moment.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
And welcome back to Sports Talk here on the South Carolina Radio Network. I'm Tom Hayes, a.k.a. The Pro, and we're here on the Tuesday night before Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people are on the road. Please drive carefully. Want to mention some other things before we get back to the guys and Ray Tanner and Charles Bloom over at the Ale House. And that is, we did have some college basketball this afternoon, and it was the Clemson Tigers winning their ball game today against, let's see, just trying to check the score here of Clemson's game. And they beat Georgia by the score of 64-49. And now they're in the championship game of their pre-Thanksgiving tournament. So the Clemson Tigers victorious, ranked 16th in the country, and expect them to get a higher ranking come next time around. As far as that's concerned. South Carolina in action not until the 26th next week as they take on the always tough Wofford Terriers. And if you'd like to give us a call, you can call us at 1-800-956-7266. That's 1-800-956-7266. If you have any type of thoughts on the game, how it will go, do you think it will be the 26 point blowout that the prognosticators are predicting, or do you think it's going to be a closer football game? You know, the guys in New Orleans, they don't get rich by setting odds that are strange or whatever. So they're pretty much on the money as far as that's concerned. But also remember that they set those odds to see who will take the bet. And so they're trying to whet the appetites of those guys that think maybe South Carolina can keep it a little bit closer this year. So we shall see as far as that is concerned. And you can give us a call at 1-800-956-7266, 1-800-956-7266. Later on, we will talk some basketball. I think we have some thoughts from Frank Martin, who had his presser today on Tuesday. One of the guys he's expecting maybe to see if he's going to get healthy is the freshman forward out of New Jersey, and Alonzo Frank, all 6'6", 265 pounds of him. Alonzo Frank has been on the shelf since the beginning of the year because of an injured knee suffered in preseason practice. But they have to check the strength of his knee. And as you'll hear from the coach, his knee has to be at least 85% strength-wise, or they won't let him back on the floor. If it's 85% or more, then they could have, as far as they're concerned, he can hit the practice floor and maybe see some minutes as far as the Wofford game is concerned. The only concern right now with him is he was not in practice when they installed their defensive concepts, and so he's going to be sort of behind if he begins a practice on the 23rd on Friday, as far as that's concerned. Do we have any calls, Brian? Chuck from Greenwood is on the air. Good evening on this Tuesday night, Chuck. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to comment on the game and
go right ahead. Turn your radio down so you won't hear that little echo. We're on a delay.
Okay. I just want to say that I just think it's up to Coach Swinney about how bad they're going to beat the Gamecocks. And I firmly believe if it was ever an impossibility for them any year, that it is. And I believe that Coach Swinney could keep his starting lineup on the bench for the entire game and beat them.
Well,
they were more than
well, I was about
they
to
will
ask.
they will cover the spread and probably more. So that's what I wanted to say.
I was about to ask you, what do you think? Because, you know, you're looking ahead at the postseason, not only the ACC championship game, but the playoff.
Yes.
So you think they should get a lead early so they can rest those starters? Because it seems to be a good formula for Clemson, as we've seen in the last few years, to get those guys fresh for the playoff.
I believe that Clemson will probably play no more than the first quarter with their starting lineup.
We're back, guys.
Okay. Well, Chuck, thanks for your call. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having the show.
Oh, taking it. Thank you. Thank you. Look at Pro taking it in. How about that? That's why we have him standing behind the bullpen. Coach Ray Tanner knows about the importance of having a quality bullpen.
Yeah.
You got to have a stopper.
Absolutely.
Of course,
ready
now
to go.
In Major League Baseball, they have what they call the opener now.
You hate that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hate it.
I'm trying to get used to it.
What was it like having a Jackie Bradley Jr. Back in town last weekend?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, you know, he was Jackie hasn't changed since he was a freshman. I mean, he's the same guy that he was when he got here. And he went over to women's basketball practice on Friday. He went over and visited with the baseball guys. They had a workout. He had a chance to sit down and talk with them a little bit. And then we went over to the volleyball match on Friday night. So he was a man about town. Then he came out to the football game and had a big time. You know, just like he never left. He's the same guy.
Pro has a question for Ray. Go ahead, Pro.
Yeah, I was going to ask Ray, what's the updated schedule as far as the football operations building is concerned? And I know fans have approached me asking, will there be some kind of open house in December to see the works?
Well, probably not December. I was over there today, and we're on time and we're under budget, so we got some good news out of it. But you know, hopefully after the bowl game, we get the coaching staff moved in early January, somewhere in there, and there'll be a couple of different celebrations and ribbon cuttings, and there may be an opportunity for a fan experience as well. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything, but it's a fabulous facility and just a great place for our football program, for football operations day to day, and we're excited about opening it up. You got the practice fields, you got the indoor field. Now you have the operations center, so it's a tremendous setup.
With the fall seasons coming to an end with football, you reflect over the seasons to this point. Women's soccer.
Well, Coach Shelley Smith, again, you know, the thing that, you know, so hard to do in sports, especially playing in the Southeastern Conference or, you know, in a really good league, is sustaining success. And, you know, she's been able to do that. Back in the playoffs this year, she made it to the second round. Penn State beat us last weekend. We were up at West Virginia. We won at home, but made it to the second round. But another great season for her after winning the regular season 2 years in a row. And our volleyball team, we're still playing. We play tomorrow night at home against Kentucky, and then we finish up with the Gators. But for the first time, and we're knocking on wood here, for the first time in many, many years, our volleyball program under new coach Tom Mendoza has an opportunity to go to the postseason. So we're excited about that, and we'll find out about that in a couple of weeks.
You have to be proud of that immediate return on investment for volleyball, especially with that new
Well,
coach.
It's been fun. I try to go to all of our games and events. I enjoy. I mean, being an athletics director, there's some benefits. You get to watch a lot of sports, and you know, I love going to our volleyball. We have some great matches, and he does a heck of a job. And it's a team that has been together for a while, and they've won at a high level this year. 10 wins in the league, 19 overall.
You need to host Corn and I at an equestrian event.
Yeah,
that'd be a good idea, and get you on the horse.
Interview the horses real quick. Men's soccer, not a good year for Mark Burson. You see the program bouncing back in the near future?
Well, he's been doing it a long time.
Right.
I want to say 41 years he's been a coach, and there's been some really good ones in there.
Sure.
You know, he's been a Final Four team, and this wasn't a particular great year, but he's had plenty of success since he's been here.
Prediction for Saturday?
You know, I don't know. I'm listening to you, and you feel pretty good about us.
Well, I think you're going to be competitive. I'm not going to say you're going to win. I'll take the 26 points. You can't take the 26 points.
He's rough. No, I like our guys. I like our team, you know, and
hang on.
We have to play well.
All right, be right back.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
We are back here on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Our sincere and amazing grateful thanks to the folks here at Carolina Ale House, not only those who have joined us here in studio, but also those who have taken care of us here. The people here have done a fantastic job, not just here in Columbia, but in Charleston. If you're basically listening to us, you are near a Carolina Ale House as far as our listening area is concerned, so please be sure to patronize them as we continue to bring you all the best in sports talk here across the state of South Carolina. I do want to mention, even though Ray Tanner is here, still sitting across us, Clemson has beaten Georgia in basketball 64-49 early today in the Cayman Islands. Marquise Reed had 24 points, 9 rebounds. Clemson led wire to wire. They're now 5-0. They will play either Georgia State or Creighton, who are tipping off here just momentarily in the Cayman Islands. They will play the winner of that game for a chance to win their first multi-team event since 2008-2009 season when they won the Charleston Classic. Corn.
All right, I got a couple of quick recruiting notes I want to touch on, and then I think KT is going to join us, and Ray's here as well to continue talking with us. Running back Taj Gary tells us that he does plan to continue with his official visits as scheduled. Virginia Tech on the 30th, USC on the 7th, despite his broken leg. Cornerback Colin Duncan, USC and Mississippi State right now stand as his top 2. South Carolina recruiting quite a large number of defensive backs, especially at the cornerback position, including Shiloh Sanders. Checked on him again last night. South Carolina is in real good shape with him right now if they really pursue him. He loves South Carolina, he said. Tennessee is on him now hard. He's going to visit Colorado State, also Michigan State and Florida State. Possible official visits. He's already taken one to USC. We'll go into more details on these stories and others on the Sports Talk tomorrow night when we have a little bit more time. Ray Tanner is here. Do we have KT with us, Brian? Did I hear you say? All right, Kerry Tharp, president of Darlington, joining us here on Sports Talk as we expand the Gamecock family to bring in the former Gamecock sports information director to join. I guess he worked under you, right? Were you the were you the AD when Kerry? I know you were.
We were together.
I helped hire
you weren't the AD.
No.
Hey, Phil, I was on I cast the deciding of hire Coach Tanner back in '90.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a
KT.
So how you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you, KT? KT,
I'm
greatest of all time.
It's
The best.
a pleasure to be on the line with you. Pleasure to be on the line.
Hey, and Coach Tanner's a big racing fan. KT used to go to all the tracks in the Carolinas, and back when NASCAR was a regional sport, said he hit them all.
I hit them all.
I'm sure he did up there in Caraway and all the hickories and all the things up in North Carolina. But it's a real pleasure to be on with y'all.
KT, as far as wrapping up your season and the championship race on Sunday, I mean, you had the Final Four finish in the Final Four, and the least expected of the Final Four was the guy that came away with the championship.
Well, I think you're exactly right, Phil. I mean, Joey Logano, if you had to seed them 1 through 4, he would have been 4th seed. But, he got hot at the right time at the end of the season, won the big race at Martinsville a few weeks ago when he moved Truex out of the way. He did what he had to do. And he came into Homestead, Miami, very confident, and his race team pretty much performed flawlessly and got him in the championship late Sunday night. So congratulations to him. I think he's going to be a great champion.
Yeah, I think he will be. He's still young, and I think he probably has a good following of young people, maybe drawing some more of the young folks into the sport. What do you think the sport's going to do with him now from a marketing standpoint as the champion in the face of NASCAR right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, early Monday morning, he took off, and he's been up in New York City doing a media blitz. He's been on a lot of those morning talk shows, visiting a lot of the big publications, Sports Illustrated and the like, and he'll be over at ESPN doing some media hits over there. And then take a little bit of break for Thanksgiving, and then he'll head out to the West Coast and do some media out there with some of the big California outlets. And then we'll go into Las Vegas here towards the end of the month and have our annual banquet and, kind of close the season out. But, Joey's a guy that was a racer from the time he turned 6 years old, and this has been a lifelong dream for him. And I was really happy to see him win on Sunday.
You're hosting us in Vegas, right, KT?
Yes, exactly right. The banquet will be on Vegas.
Silence.
I'm sure Phil will be out there trying to recoup all of his losses. But that's where we end the season out at Las Vegas for the banquet, and look forward to that.
Were you generally pleased with the way the playoffs played out?
I really was, Phil. Really, in all 3 series: Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series. you really had the kind of the underdogs win the championships. But I thought in the Cup Series, the best 4 drivers that have performed the most consistently over the course of the season were there on Sunday, and Logano got the caution to come out at the right time, and his car was fastest there the last 20 or 25 laps, and he did what he had to do, and our hats off to him.
KT, before we let you go, you got to talk football. Gamecocks and Tigers. Ray is here. He's optimistic, of course. He's got on his Gamecock happy face and hopeful hats. What do you think?
Well, I tell you what, I've been really impressed with how the Gamecocks are playing the last few weeks. I think they're playing their best football. They got a tall order up there when they go to Death Valley, but I tell you what, I think they're going to be up to it. Coach Muschamp will have the team ready, and I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I like the Gamecocks.
Oh, to win?
Hey, Phil, why not? I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
Ray's looking at me like, well, yeah.
That's what he said.
He said he liked the Gamecocks. Yeah. He didn't stutter.
Well, he likes the Gamecocks as a fan, but I had to make sure he's talking about he likes the Gamecocks to win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going. I tell you what, it's going to be a great challenge. But I think they're going to play their best game of the season.
Hey, KT, have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for being with us all NASCAR season long. And we're about 90 days away from the Daytona 500. We'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Everybody have a happy.
Joey Logano. Fabulous.
Thank you.
He's going to be great for the face of NASCAR right
now. You're right.
I saw a couple of his interviews and his appearances after he won. Fabulous. He's going to be wonderful.
All right. I got to thank you for spending all this time with us. Really, you've gone above and beyond the call of duty. But
it's great to be with you guys.
Yeah. So 26, and you got choked up. You got choked up there on the 26.5. I mean, or the 25.5, whatever.
No, you just make me laugh sometimes, Phil.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
you did first.
I need to know moving forward. Now we got a live show tomorrow night, a tape show on Thursday, a live show on Friday. I mean, I just need to know, should I continue thinking along the lines of South Carolina's got a chance to go in there and pull off an upset, not just make an appearance and do well.
You've seen these games for a long time, Phil.
Yeah.
You've seen these
upsets
games.
do happen.
Well, yeah. You go play. You know, sometimes they're favored.
You go up there and listen to everybody. It's the invisible. It's the invincible force up there.
Well, but you know what? There's been a lot of invincible forces in all kinds of sports.
Give me one baseball game where you went in. You knew you weren't going to win, and you won.
Well, I never felt I wasn't going to win. But you go back, I'll just quickly tell you, 2010, our first national championship, nobody gave us a chance to beat UCLA. But the players thought they could win. Do you think our players don't think they can win in Death Valley?
If you don't get the call by the umpire.
Where did he go with that?
I have no idea.
Jackie Bradley took the pitch.
No, that was against Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right.
That wasn't UCLA. See, his
sorry.
memory.
Well, I was going the same World Series.
It's sports. You go play.
Yeah.
You play well. Things can happen.
Yeah. What's y'all's travels plans for the trip up there?
Friday. We're going. Do
you go on the bus with them?
Well, sometimes I do, and not always. So we'll see. I can't tell you my secret. I can't tell you my travel plans.
We wish you and your family and the Gamecock family a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you, and I wish you guys the best as well.
Yeah, it's great having you out here. And you brought one of your kids.
Yeah, I brought Luke with me. He's listening. He's going to tell me on the way home how it went.
Hey, good-looking boy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Left-hander, right-hander.
He's a righty.
Yeah,
yeah.
Upper 90s already.
Well, no, he's more into. He's going to be a playwright, I think.
Is that right?
Is he switch hitting yet or no?
His future, not yet.
He's a thinker.
Yes.
No, really, we thank you very much for being with us. It's been great.
Glad to visit. And you had Charles Bloom here. Wow.
Charles Bloom. We hit the daily double.
He doesn't make many appearances.
Thanks to the Carolina Ale House.
Very, very thanks
for hosting us. We appreciate it. Have a great night, everybody. We'll be back live tomorrow night.